Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Stephanie Reil, an entrepreneur, investor, speaker, somatic mentor, yoga teacher, and intuitive guide with more than 17 years of experience building businesses and leading teams. Stephanie launched her first business at just 22 years old, growing a successful marketing agency that served clients nationwide and earned multiple awards along the way. But despite the external success, she discovered something many high achievers eventually face, which is success on paper doesn't always translate into fulfillment on the inside. Today, our work sits at the intersection of business strategy, spirituality, and embodied leadership, helping founders, creatives, and social leaders create lives and businesses that feels as good on the inside as they look on the outside. Stephanie, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, so I want you to take us back basically to your younger years, right? So what kind of person were you growing up and how did your growing up shape who you are today?
Oh, yes. Growing up, I was a high achiever, always
Mm.
um, involved in many activities and getting the best grades that I could, really striving for that achievement. And that was celebrated in my household growing up, and that's a beautiful thing. And it also, I have found in my own personal journey, um, shapes us into adults that perhaps take action from a place of doing or having things outside of ourselves versus really um, being able to strongly connect with what's right on an internal compass and what feels good inside. And it's such a beautiful journey because the experience and the life has led me here, and I wouldn't change it. And also, I live my life so differently now. But that's definitely how it began, with a lot of achievement, a lot of activities, musical theater, a lot of creativity and expression.
Hmm. Wow. All right. So, looking back, right, what were some assumptions about success that you were probably operating under?
Yeah, one of the beliefs that I held that I started unwinding a couple of years ago is that to be successful, it had to be hard, and it had to be a really difficult journey. And that was a story that I learned from my environment growing up. And um, it's interesting to see, when we hold a belief, whatever, if it's that belief or something else, how that belief shows up in our everyday lives. And so that was definitely one of the ways of thinking that I held on to. And really, for my first couple of businesses, I had that mindset running the business and operating my life too, as everything was really difficult.
Hmm. Wow. All right. So, I'm curious, right? If you could, just get the chance to sit with your 20 something year old self, what advice would you give to her?
I would tell her that it's okay to go at your own pace.
Mm.
It actually doesn't have to be so hard. It actually gets to be very easy and fun. And um, to always trust your intuition, your inner instinct, and to not lose connection with that or chase those external accolades. To really to focus on what feels good and what feels right within her own body. That's what I would tell her.
Okay. Trust your inner intuition. focus on what feels right. And also, it's okay to grow at your own pace, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, you built businesses early, right? So I would like for you to, share what it was like building business at such a young age. So what were some of the like highs and lows of building a business when you were young? Right.
Yeah. Because I started so early and it was before entrepreneurship was really a thing that was celebrated, a lot of
Mm,
my friends and peers thought I was crazy because I would work on my own business at nights and weekends and work for, somebody else during the day. That the
mm,
side hustle and having a side hustle wasn't really a thing back in the early to late 2000s when I got started with my
mm,
businesses. And a lot's changed since then. But I didn't know so much. I was still in college when I started my first business, and had seen some stuff about businesses, and I had had some real world experiences and internships. But there's really, when you're brand new and you're at a young age, there's a lot you don't know, and so it was always learning. It was really a fun adventure. I look back now, and in some ways I had no idea what I was doing, but that was the best way to
mm.
learn. I got to learn everything while I was growing the business, and that was really a special time that I get to look back on now, because there weren't all the resources or podcasts or there wasn't as much information available then. It was just really going off a gut instinct and trying things and seeing what worked and seeing what didn't work and then iterating from there.
All right. Wow. Okay. So yes, another thing, I would like for us to touch on is burnout, right? And the whole idea of nervous system regulation, basically. So first of all, what introduced you to the nervous system regulation and somatics?
My own journey did. I
Mm,
found myself building a lot of success in business. I had experienced 35% growth year over year, 2 years in a row for
mm,
my marketing agency. Had a team and clients all across the United States, and we were growing very fast and achieving a lot of success. Hitting a lot of milestones and goals for our clients, hitting a lot of internal milestones for the company and growth, and amassing a lot of revenue, and found myself very much in burnout, in a
mm,
state of feeling like I just had to keep on pushing. I had to keep on going, when really my body was telling me that I really needed a break. But I didn't know,
mm,
a decade ago, I didn't know how to take that break, and that didn't really feel natural to me. And so it was through my own journey, through experiencing symptoms of burnout and dis-ease in my body, that led me to find different somatic therapies that helped me on my healing journey and helped me come back into balance within myself. And it inspired me so much. I left my old life behind and stepped
mm,
into helping others on their journeys and helping them find alignment and find better balance where they are now too.
mm. Wow. All right. The fact that, you had to, like you said, you left your whole life behind, I think it takes a whole lot of strength to be able to actually do that. And then you were able to do it. And another thing that I've noticed, right, is burnout is often, seen amongst high achievers, right? Or should I say leaders, basically. So why do you think burnout has become so common among founders and professionals?
Yeah, I think the hustle culture and achieving milestones and goals is that's what's celebrated. That's what that's what society often rewards or talks about, or a lot of the conversations in business circles are often on, oh, I'll just get through this stretch of business and then I'll have a
Mm,
break. But that's often the lie that that high achievers we tell ourselves, because we don't really know how to go slow. We don't really know how to slow
mm,
down, is that the nervous system is always, that system in our body is hardwired in our system to scan for safety. And so if we don't have that feeling of safety within, or if that doesn't feel safe to us, if we're used to achieving, if we're used to, like in my childhood, oh, getting good grades, doing the best you can do, that leads to, I believe very much so, the society and the culture that we have now, where there's a lot of pressure on that perfectionism and that achievement. And
Mm.
that really disconnects us from our body and doesn't allow us to cultivate that inner safety within.
Mm. Wow, inner safety. All right. So another thing is some people might be experiencing burnout, or should I say they are operating from survival mode, but they are not aware of it, right? So many people are just so engrossed in work, in achieving a lot of things, and like you said, there's this idea of success that the society has on the people. So everyone is just working towards getting that, whole idealized success, right? That they do not even realize that they are operating on survival mode. So first of all, I'd like to ask, what are the signs that one is operating on survival mode?
There are so many signs, and it is so unique for each body and each person's
Mm,
system, and it is often overlooked. You think, oh, I'll just hit this next goal, I'll hit this next milestone, and then I'll feel better. But I think some of the common signs I see with clients, and I know from my own journey, some of the things, and I think the other thing is we live in such a connected world now. We are inundated with messages at all times. So it's really
mm,
challenging to take a moment for ourselves and to check in and say to yourself, how do I feel? And really know the answer to that on a real level. And so some of the ways that I often see clients struggling with burnout, they might be having a lot of fatigue, a lot of, like, if they have like a wearable, like an Aura ring or a Whoop or something, we'll often see that their heart rate is really elevated and has a hard time coming down to a more quote unquote normal zone. Trouble sleeping, irritability. I think one of the other signs, someone, and I believe this is a famous quote, but I don't know exactly where it came from, but a mentor of mine said once, show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities. And I know some of the successful founders that I work with, we look at their calendar and they have no breaks in the day, not even a break for lunch. It's just meeting to meeting to meeting, task to task to task, and that really often will give me a telltale sign that somebody is operating from burnout too, because when you're in survival, the system is hardwired to continue to go because it thinks you're being chased
mm,
by, evolutionarily speaking, back
mm,
when humans first came to the planet, and we're evolving, there were, predators that you needed to run from. And so now our nervous systems, if we're in survival, we get stuck in that overdrive where we think that there's a predator, and the predator might just be our overwhelmed calendar or all the notifications on our
mm,
phone, but it's constantly signaling to our body that we're not safe, and it keeps us in that survival mode, which then, I think another one of the signs of burnout is maybe having sluggish digestion or digestive issues, because when we're in survival and constant fight or flight, the body turns off all unnecessary, or siphons off, and slows down anything unnecessary for functioning in a predator situation. So your digestion slows. You might end up having gas, bloating, a lot of those other GI symptoms that sometimes go undiagnosed.
mm,
You may, be having headaches or other physical symptoms in the body too. So that can definitely be part of it. And then I think also just a constant feeling of being tired, like no matter how much you sleep, being tired, having dread when you wake up in the morning instead of excitement for your day. Those are some examples, but like I said at the beginning, is so unique for each person. But those are some of the common signs that I see that that I find that a lot of founders and high achievers can really see in their own experience too.
mm. All right, wow. And one of the process, or should I say, healing burnout or surviving burnout is somatics, I think so, and therapy, and a whole lot of it. Slowing down also, yes. So first of all, I want us to touch on somatics and embodied leadership, basically. So first of all, for someone hearing the term for the first time, what exactly is somatics?
Sure. Somatics comes from the root word soma, which
Mm,
means, very simply stated, it's the body. So when we're talking about
mm,
somatics, they are practices that bring us back into our body, especially for a lot of
mm,
high achievers or people who are constantly, tackling a to-do list or things outside of themselves. Maybe it's even a busy mom, navigating her kid's schedule. That can take a lot of forms, but in that, we're focused more on the external than we are on the internal. And so somatics are a variety of kinds of practices that help us bring the connection and reestablish the connection back into the body. And you might be thinking, well, I live in my body. Like, yeah, I'm connected to my body. I'm here on earth. And also, there's a distinct difference between being in your body and being embodied. And so when I
mm,
say embodied and somatics, and to give some examples of somatics first, that can be a practice like meditation or even sound
mm,
healing or breathing exercises or maybe yoga. It can also be things like humming or buzzing your lips together or jumping up and down. There's a lot of different ways, and really everyone's nervous system, depending on where you are in the process, your body might need different things. Some things can be very harsh on the system if you are
yeah.
in fight or flight and really stressed out. And so there's a lot of different ways that somatics can show up, but those are all just ways to connect you into your body. And then the word embodied, because I know that was the second part of your question. When I'm saying embodied, I really think of it's part lived experience of like, okay, I've had this experience in my body. I know what joy feels like in my body. Okay, I can
Mm,
bring more joy into this team meeting today because I know what that feels like and how I can help somebody else cultivate that within their own body. Or maybe it's having a nice laugh together or something that uplifts the system and uplifts the energy. And when I think about embodiment and embodied leadership, it's another word might be integrated, like looking at the person as a whole, not just the
mm,
achievements, not just the external, but really looking at the person as a whole. But then also coming from a place of care and consideration and collaboration to
mm,
work with a team or even work with yourself to be able to reestablish connection to those different parts within you and come from a more embodied place where you're another word I would use is like having your center. And so that would be like being from a calm centered place in your system before you would jump in to react or respond to something, that you could be in your own self energy first. So those are all examples of how I would describe embodiment and what embodied leadership is.
mm. Wow. All right. Okay. So somatics, like you said, is the practices that brings us back to our body, basically. And then
Yeah.
embodied is just more like lived experiences, basically. Right. Wow. First of all, I would like to say I'm learning a lot because I'm even taking notes. Right. So thank you for sharing, such beautiful insights with us today. And at the beginning, when I asked that what would you say to your younger self, or what advice would you give? You spoke about, trusting your intuition, basically. And yes, I would love for us to touch intuition, the themes of intuition. So you've explored intuition, sound healing, and also energetic awareness. So what has that journey taught you?
Oh, it's taught me so much.
Mm,
And I think there's different layers. I don't know if you've ever seen the the movie Shrek, but Shrek,
Yeah.
he's an ogre character, and he talks about ogres are onions, and onions have many layers. And
Mm,
while that might be true for ogres, I don't personally know any ogres, but I know that that's true for humans too. And so when I think about this journey and what it's taught me, I think about all the different layers of myself been able to reconnect with, that I've been able to heal different parts and different aspects. Not only physical healing that I've achieved, but also emotional and spiritual healing. And really have been able to strengthen my intuition in really magnificent ways, to be able to not only lead from an embodied place and help my clients on their journey to help come back into wholeness, into their own energy and experience, and to find more alignment, but also to continue to help myself as the human journey evolves. You know, we always are facing different questions, different challenges, different opportunities, and each different layer that we explore within ourselves, it creates, I believe, more expansion in our energetic field and in our reality, in the external world too. And so it's really cool to see the ripple effect that my own journey and my own personal work in healing has allowed to expand in my reality too.
oh, all right. So, I was thinking, right? How can one, because when you talk about intuition, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, it's almost like a gut feeling, right? That feeling you get in your gut. And then it can also be likened to fear, right? So how can one tell the difference between fear and intuition?
Yeah, that's a question I get often. Clients early on in our work together often say, I can't tell the difference.
Right.
And it's a slight nuance between that pit in your stomach because you're afraid something's going to go wrong
Mm,
versus, the inner guidance that may be sending you down a different path. And so
mm,
what I have found and how I teach on intuition versus fear or anxiety is often very loud. It has
mm,
a lot of questions. It thinks of all the scenarios. It lets you know of every single thing that might go wrong and all the questions and concerns. Have you considered this? It might keep you up at night. It's those racing
right.
thoughts, those overwhelming thoughts, the intrusive thoughts that come in. That's often the fear or the anxiety. And also, it's a on the Hawkins scale of frequency, it's a lower vibration, and so it also can kind of give us feelings of like pulling us down. If we're really in our body, we might be able to feel that subtle shift of like being pulled down and feeling like overwhelmed with the fear, or like feeling like the thoughts are just mounting and like your shoulders are getting heavy and heavier. That is how I equate fear or anxiety. It's
Mm,
very loud and it can feel very heavy, whereas intuition is often a whisper. It's often very quiet. It's neutral. It doesn't have a high or low feeling to it. It's neutral. It's very matter of fact, and it's also very calm, and fleeting. So you might get a thought. Maybe you're riding your bike on a commute or in your vehicle, and you're like, I think I should go to the left today instead of the right. And you maybe don't even think about it. You just take your left turn and take a different direction to your location that day. And maybe you find out later there was an accident to the right that you
mm,
avoided. That's intuition. Whereas anxiety would be really loud and overwhelming. Intuition is sometimes in those quiet moments and comes through in an instant, and then as quickly as it comes, it also goes. And so
mm,
also when I'm talking about intuition, I want to remind everybody listening that it's a muscle. it
mm,
is it is just like your bicep or any other muscle in your body. We have to train it, we have to
mm,
practice, and that's the same with connecting with the body. It's like building up a brand new relationship with a new friend, and we have to build it and connect with it slowly, repeatedly, to help build it up so that it gets stronger and stronger, so that it's easier to hear that.
Hmm. Wow. All right. Okay. So fear is loud and heavy, right? Then intuition is neutral and calm, basically. All
Yes.
right. And another thing you said is it comes as quickly as it goes. So it's not something that just comes and then stays and keeps on, bothering you. It comes very quickly and then goes quickly also. So that's how you can tell that, okay, this is intuition and not anxiety or fear, basically. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Hmm. Okay. It's funny how, it's very relatable when you said it, like when you were able to explain and give example. It was actually very relatable because the example you use by saying you want to go drive to the left and then you just, decided to go right just very randomly because you thought of something and then the next thing you found out that there was an accident there. These are experiences that I feel like people do have, right? Just this basic intuition. Maybe you want to even do like you want to do something and you just have the intuition, like don't do it or it might not go well, right? You want to make a major decision and like don't do it, it might not go well. And then you end up not doing it and you find out that if you had done it, it probably wouldn't have gone well. So these are instances that, happens in people's lives that they can actually tell that, okay, yes, this is intuition and this is fear and anxiety. So, oh, yes, I'd say thanks for, sharing deep insights on that with us. And I would love for, before I would ask my final question, I just want you to talk to someone out there, specifically younger adults, because that is the sole purpose of my podcast, basically, to give advice to those who are seeking clarity. So
Yeah.
many people in their 20s, they are chasing success, but they are afraid of, they feel like they are falling behind, basically.
Yeah.
So what would you say to them?
First, such an exciting time of your life to be in your 20s,
Mhm.
to be at the beginning of so
Yeah.
many possibilities. And I
Mm.
also know that pressure that sometimes can be felt at that stage of your journey too. And the thing I think so often now in almost 2 decades from that point of my life is I first wish I knew, like 20 is so young. And I know one of my mentors and idols in business is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he always talks about how, like, if you're under 30 you're a baby. And I really, and even if you're under 40 you're a baby, and if you're under 20, or even if you're, anywhere in between there is so much life to live. I think when we can alleviate some of that pressure and really find what feels good and feels like our path, that's so rewarding and can lead to more, like, things that charge up your battery and lead to more excitement and longevity. um, and so I would say, like, a gentle reminder to just um, alleviate the pressure a little bit. There's truly so much time ahead to accomplish all the things you want to accomplish. And the other thing that I would say that that I feel like is more prevalent now than it was a couple of decades ago, and I'm so thankful for that. But being you, whoever you are, whatever your authentic interests are, what lights you up? What do you like to do? What did you like to do as a kid? It wasn't that long ago. Maybe you were in adolescence and having fun creating, or flipping Pokemon cards, or whatever it might be. Like, think about those things that really brought you joy and are really true to you in topics that you're interested in, not just things that maybe your parents or your guardians or family members or friends are doing or telling you to do, but like, what do you really enjoy doing? And I would invite you to do more of that, because that's really where the magic lies.
Mm. Wow. All right. Okay. So yes, thank you, Stephanie. Some of this, in fact, all the advice you've just given, I think I'm going to adopt them, right, and put in my daily life. And I hope my listeners will do the same as well, also. And yes, finally, I just want to ask this one. So, what is one practice that everyone should try to reduce stress, both old, young, entrepreneurs, leaders, every people in every aspect of life? What is one practice they should try to reduce stress?
One of my favorite practices that everyone has access to is our breath.
Hmm.
And so, one simple exercise that I even practice pretty regularly as well to help bring me into a more calm and centered space and state is what's called box breath. And it's an inhale for 4, and then a hold for 4 seconds, and then you exhale for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. And it's called box breathing because kind of the 4 inhale is a line up, and then there's a line over, and then a line down, and a line over, and then it makes a box. So I always picture that in my mind when I'm cueing that. So it's inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and then you inhale for 4 again. And you can do a couple rounds of that. It only takes a couple of seconds. But even that gentle breathwork practice can help bring you back into the present moment, back into feeling your breath, maybe how it enters your nose when you're breathing in, noticing what you feel when you exhale, and even just taking a few moments, maybe even 30 seconds to breathe like that, and just trying it and seeing what it feels like and seeing what you notice, and then maybe trying it again and seeing what comes out differently. Even a small simple practice like that you can do everywhere. You can do in the line at the post office, you can do in your car driving, you can do in a meeting, you can
Hmm.
do with your family. You and it really is something that, even if you have a different quality of breath than another, it's a very personal experience of whatever your breath feels like that day, and allowing yourself to hold the breath, exhale, inhale, and go through that cadence. And it can create a lot of state shift. And what I mean by state shift is it can take you from fight or flight back into a more grounded, regulated state just by doing that for 30 seconds. So it really gets to be that easy.
Hmm. Wow. Box breathing, right? Inhale for 4, exhale for 4, inhale, exhale, right? Like, just goes around like that, like a box. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Okay, so yes, thank you, Stephanie. I think this has been, such an amazing conversation, deeply insightful also. These are conversations people would listen to and they would have a lot of takeaway on it. Very important, life-changing takeaways. So yes, thank you. And which brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. You could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. What is one word you would describe your younger self?
Vivacious was the first word that came to mind.
Hmm. Wow, vivacious. Okay. So, what is one word that describes you today?
Grounded.
Grounded. Like, wow. Okay. So, what is a book that changed your life?
The Body Keeps the Score by Besser Van de. I'm blanking on the author, but The Body Keeps the Score. It's an incredible read that opened my mind to somatics in a new
Hmm.
way.
The body keeps the score. Oh, okay. So, what is your favorite way to recharge?
I love being outside. And
Hmm.
so if it's a walk with my dog or a hike, being in nature, being by the ocean, really anytime I get to be outside, I love that. I love feeling the sunshine on my skin and being out in nature.
Hmm. Okay. And finally, what does embodied leadership mean in one sentence?
Mm. Speaking from a place of I to lead by example and live from experience.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And yes, thank you, Stephanie. And finally, before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. My website is probably the best place to learn about me. It is stephaniereil.com. That's Riel. And then on all social media, my handle is I am Stephanie Reil. But that's also linked to my website. So I'm pretty active on Threads and Instagram and have accounts on Facebook and a couple of other places too. So you can find all that information on my website.
Hmm. All right. Wow. Okay. And for the link, I'm going to put it in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And to my listeners, I would say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this. And also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Stephanie, and do have a wonderful day ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Take care.